sort of staying safe online, and sort of particularly kind of curious in your thoughts of some of the stuff that the kids have said. So firstly to Will, so secondary felt that stopping children and young people using the internet doesn't help keep them safe. Do you agree? I mean, I feel like I'm kind of asking you literally on Childnet and say your whole premise is children online, but you know.
I do agree with that conclusion that stopping children using the internet won't help keep them safe. I mean, it won't develop resilience, and it will. The cost of denying them access to the technology would be enormous. And I think if you kind of look at everything the technology and the internet can provide, you have huge amounts of benefit and you have risk. And if you're going to ban it, you're saying the risk is outweighing the benefit, and I think that is not fair, and I don't think that reflects young people's experience of the internet. Clearly, there are serious risks, and we need to work to mitigate that. But I think the approach, I would agree with the young people's view on that. And even if you don't use the internet, it doesn't mean that you will be safe from the internet. I'm sure Nicola will be able to talk about online bullying that can take place. Even if you're not online, you can still be spoken about online, and your reputation, and even for educators have this problem where, you know, the reputational risks, and if you're not online, you won't even know sometimes what's going on.
Yeah, and so some the students actually felt that if you aren't online, you're more likely to be the victim of that because you're out the loop. So some of the apps that they named as particularly primary, that named as sort of ones they felt were appropriate, was Roblox, Minecraft. Secondary said YouTube and YouTube Kids. So Bhavina, obviously this is sort of your sphere. Would you agree? Would you say if teachers are talking to kids about, you know, the apps that they can use that are safe to use, are these what you would put forward?
So I think it's worth just differentiating between platforms and then the places where places you can play games, and then the actual games. And I think this goes back to Merve's point of understanding the ecosystem, because it's so complicated. I've worked in video games for ages, and even me, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many different terms, there's so many new games that come out. So something like Roblox is actually a gaming platform where you can play games designed by other people. So once you sign up, you can, you know, take part in anyone's games, you can chat to people for free. Roblox doesn't technically specify a minimum age, but if you are under 13, you have to create a kid's account. So you are thereby limited as to what you can do. There are also separate accounts where it offers parental control. So again, you can limit what you do, but this is again where parents, carers, families need to intervene at the moment that you download the game, that you have to have those parental controls in place and have that conversation with the child that actually this is about a negotiation. You can play games, you can have fun, but there are boundaries, healthy boundaries that we can set in a positive way. Minecraft is another great one. It's more of like a sandbox kind of game. I actually think that's a common sense media definition. But essentially, it's a place where you can create anything, endless possibilities. And if you don't want to, you don't need to speak to anyone. You don't need to engage with anyone. But kids will want to engage with their friends. They'll want to work with them. So that comes with a level of risk because you are connecting with those people. But again, you can put those controls in place where they limit what you can do. And again, we would encourage people to do that. If you don't know how to set up those parental controls, Ukie runs something called Ask About Games, and you can run through all of that, have it set up. YouTube and YouTube Kids is where I exercise a bit of caution. So YouTube Kids, I think, clearly the adverts are tailored for kids. You are limited by what you can see. YouTube is a really difficult one. Both as a auntie and as somebody who works in the video games industry, I would exercise caution around YouTube. Only because the way that algorithms work, you view something for a second longer than something else, and it will keep coming up. You know, just as an experiment, I wanted to see if I watched the Andrew Tate video, what would come up. And then my feed afterwards was a cesspit of horrible stuff. So I would exercise serious caution around YouTube. And again, it's not taking the approach like Will has said, which is just ban it. That doesn't help. It's educating kids and adults, what's appropriate content. If I see appropriate content like this, how do I close it, report it, not view it? That's more beneficial than just saying don't go on it, because there are going to be things that they are going to see on different platforms and you won't be able to control all of it. So educating them around what's right, wrong, how you can report it is a better way to go. So yeah, it's a hard one with new games, you know, Steam platforms and things, but educating them, I think, is the best approach. And knowing yourself as a parent is the best thing to do.
Yeah, and it's something that teachers can support parents in doing. And it does seem it's not the platform, it's how you use it, really seems to be the vibe here. One thing, yeah, Kate.
Sorry, I was just going to say, because I'm talking as a parent, really. I sort of feel like sometimes I'm anxious about what they can do, and I really have to like speak to myself. And I always remember thinking, like, if you never taught your children how to safely cross the road, they wouldn't know how to safely cross the road. And it's kind of that mantra, isn't it, of going, this is their world, this is their big road that they're crossing. Like, how do we make sure that they know exactly how to do it and do it safely? So yeah, that was just just sharing my experience as a parent as well, with that fear and trying to sort of talk myself down a little bit.
If I could just quickly jump in, I'd just say that the main things to look out for, both as a parent but also as a teacher, is that every game will have a PEGI rating, every single one. It will say whether it's suitable for 3, 5, 7, 12, 18, and it's the same like watching a movie. You know, back in the day, you wouldn't go and see an 18 if you're not meant to. It's the same with games. A 10-year-old kid should not be playing Grand Theft Auto. So just look out for those signs, look out for the content descriptors, familiarize yourself with what they are, and they can really help steer you as to what's right and what isn't, what's wrong.
Perfect. Thanks, Bhavina. Just conscious of time, I've got a couple more questions more. The next one is around age ratings. So Primary were very keen to talk about age ratings. And obviously they thought they were very, very good. But when you kind of scratch the surface a little bit, you also found out that quite a few of them were ignoring the age ratings. So question to Merve, do you think we should be teaching like kids about we said 10-year-olds shouldn't be playing the Grand Theft Auto, just to kind of sort of the comment in there. But sorry. Do you think that we should be teaching kids about games and apps that are on higher age ratings than they're allowed to use?
100%. I mean, I think as Bhavina even said, I mean, in terms of games, but even something like right now, everyone is buzzing about Deadpool coming out as another movie, and that's part of the Marvel universe. But that is a rated R movie. It is not okay for 13 and below in terms of what it is. And even for many other kids, that might even be up to the teens. What's most important is understanding who is your child, or who are the children that are in your lives, and what are they prepared for? What are their experiences? Our main focus is about how do we raise kids to make sure that they are critical but not cynical. And if we just say, you can't be here because of this, you can't do this because of this, and more so, we know that this game or this piece of this access to this tool can provide these types of things for you. These are the things that are developmentally appropriate for you. These are the things that I am potentially wary about. What do you think? One of the things I love about on our site, we provide a rating for children and families, but we also provide space for children to chime in and say, actually, I think this is actually going to be okay for kids at this age because of this. Now, for me, that child has thought critically about that experience and why it might be okay for children like them. And I think that is okay. That is a great opportunity to really understand what your child's experience is and where their comfort levels are. Because just because something is good for 13-year-olds doesn't mean it's good for every 13-year-old. And those are things that you want to make sure that we are able to kind of discuss and get a sense of what might be appropriate or not. I will also say, however, many children like to believe that they are much more, that they are older and more responsible than they think they are. And so they'll always want to kind of be where everyone else seems to be at. And so really understanding, what does that mean? I have an 11 and 13-year-old. Neither of them are on social media. I get the ask all the time and we have the discussion. And when it comes down to it, I know the aspects of what they really want to gain access to. And so we find other ways to give them that information so they don't feel left out in their group without getting stuck in kind of all the muddiness of a social feed that can really track them in a direction that they may not be prepared to really drive themselves. They may not be able to make the algorithm work for them quite yet. And that takes really some understanding and some sophistication, which you can get, but that means really understanding how it all works.
Yeah, really great. Yeah, it's just about, I really love that idea of them discussing the age ratings on. I'll have to have a look at that. That sounds really cool. Penny, did you have something to add?
I was just going to say that sometimes we presume things about young people without asking them, which is what we are all about, is asking the children and communicating with them, which I think has been a thread throughout this this afternoon. And just to flag up that we actually did a vote topic about whether children thought that Instagram should be for under 13s, and the vast majority said no, that they shouldn't. So we did find that our teenagers in that case at least were more, in inverted commas, sensible or more cautious than maybe we thought that they might be. So yes, I'm always speaking to children and asking. You might be surprised by their answers sometimes.
Cheers, Penny. Penny's our head of partnerships at VotesforSchools. Someone's just asked about whether they think Roblox is appropriate for kids. And just going back to what Bhavina said, I think the sort of thing was it can be, as long as, but kind of using those parental controls and making sure that they're sort of not that you using the tools that the platforms have provided, which actually is what a lot of the young people said themselves. One of the solutions that they suggested was more parental controls, more safety features on apps. Is that right, Bhavina? That's kind of...
Yeah, 100%. So Roblox is a great way to learn as well. So lots and lots of schools we work with use it as a way to teach, but also if you're at home, you can use it as a way to learn as well. But like with any game, make sure that you're setting up parental controls, that you're downloading and playing the games that are appropriate for the age that child is. And once you've got that in place, you will feel safe about what they do. If they're under 13, they have to have a kids account. That limits who they can speak to immediately. So that should alleviate some worries at least.
Yeah, I know a couple of teachers who use Roblox and